We have four types of grafts. Graft is a tissue used like transplanting from the donor's organ to recipients. Donor is the patient who gives you who you are taking the organ or tissue, and recipient is who receives this organ or tissue. We have four types of grafts. We have allograft, we have autograft, yeah. Okay, let's start with autograft. Okay, if you have autograft, it means that you are transplanting the tissue from your own body. For example, if you have some kind of burn, you can take the tissue and the skin from another place and transplant it to the burned place. So autograft means from cell. Isograft is from identical twin. Allograft is from another people, like people who are not related to you, which means that allograft is from same species, and xenograft is from different species. What can be the example of xenograft?
Big ones.
Yes. Like our typical or which can be taken from big pigs, for example. Okay. When you are transplanting the tissue, the major goal is to compare the donors and recipients' HLA genes to each other. Because HLA genes code for the MHC complexes, and if the MHC complexes are identical to each other, this means that MHC complexes which are located on all eukaryotic cells will be recognized as foreign, and the recipient organ will start to fight against the donor tissue organ. Most commonly, we are transplanting the kidney and the liver. Why? Because the person can live with one kidney without any problem, and the liver has regenerative capabilities. When you remove the part of the liver can restore this part of the liver again. Okay, when you're transplanting the tissue, there is a chance that rejections will develop. Rejections are of three major types. We have hyperacute, we have acute, and we have chronic. First of all, what is the difference between hyperacute, acute, and chronic? The time, okay? After what time you have this rejection? Hyperacute develops within minutes. Acute, days to weeks, and chronic, few months to years. Okay. When do we have hyperacute rejection? Hyperacute rejection develops if you are transplanting the organ for second times. And why? When you have transplanted the organ for the first time, the recipient's body started to produce the antibodies against the organ, and it rejected. You are removing this rejected tissue and you are transplanting it again. When you are transplanting it again, there is a chance that preformed antibodies, which are present in the recipient's organ, will attack it and will not give ability to the organ to accept this tissue. So in hyperacute rejection, we have already preformed antibodies, which we are formed during the first transplantation, and these antibodies start to attack the donor's tissue, which causes the thrombosis in the vessel, and because of the thrombosis of the vessels, you have necrosis of the tissue, and this necrosis is visible during the operation. During the operation, when the doctor transplants the tissue and restores the circulation, he or she sees that the color of the organ is not pink, it is blue, and it becomes necrotic. So when it notices it, he must remove the tissue as soon as it is possible. So in hyperacute rejection, the humoral immunity is the major part of immunity which rejects the tissue. What happens in acute rejection? In acute rejection, when you are transplanting the tissue, the recipient's organ starts to recognize the donor's MHC complexes as foreign. If, for example, let's say that we have transplanted the kidney. Yes, kidney has its own cells, and these cells are nucleated, which means that all of them have MHC class 1. This MHC class 1, if the HLA genes are not identical to each other, there is a chance that this MHC molecules will be foreign for the recipient's organ. So these MHC molecules are presented to T lymphocytes, and T lymphocytes, especially the CD8 cytotoxic T lymphocytes, start to attack the donor's organ and start to reject it. So in acute rejection, not only the humoral immunity, but also cell-mediated immunity participates and starts to attack the donor's MHC molecules. How can you distinguish acute, hyperacute, and chronic rejection morphologically? Microscope during the acute rejection, you will see the lymphocytosis. What does it mean? That at the place where you have this donor's tissue and the donor's vessels, you will see high amounts of lymphocytes. Why? Because the CD8 and CD4 T lymphocytes are recruited at the site of transplantation, and they start to reject this tissue because they attack the MHC class 1 molecules. Okay. What about chronic rejection? Chronic rejection needs years. Why? During chronic rejection, after a few months or after a few years, the organ which was transplanted starts to produce its own proteins. Okay, and these proteins can be caught by dendritic cells. Dendritic cells then present these antigens to the recipient's immune system, and they activate CD4 T lymphocytes. Okay, because in the chronic rejection we have dendritic cells. Dendritic cells will present the proteins produced by donors' cells by MHC class 2. So major cells which will be activated in chronic rejection will be CD4 helper T lymphocytes. What do they do? These CD4 helper T lymphocytes cause the accelerated atherosclerosis and narrowing of the blood vessels. If you narrow the blood vessels, it means that blood supply will be diminished to the organ, and organ will start to die. How does it narrow the lumen of the vessel? It initiates and stimulates a proliferation of media. What is media? Blood vessels have three major layers. Intima, which is the innermost layer, media, which is composed of muscle, and adventitia. During chronic rejection, the musculous tissue, which is media, is proliferated, and the proliferation of this media causes the narrowing of the vessel, which gives you then the necrosis. Okay. How can you avoid the hyperacute, acute, and chronic rejection? You can give immunosuppressant drugs to the recipient, which means that you will weaken the immune system of the recipient and will give it the time and ability to accept the donor's tissue without any complication. But there is no guarantee, 100% guarantee, that even these immunosuppressant drugs can avoid the rejection and you will accept it without any problem. But anyway, you are doing it because it decreases the risk of rejection, immunosuppressant drugs. So hyperacute, acute, and chronic rejection. In the transplantation immunology, we also have one very specific disease, which is called graft versus host disease. We saw this graft versus host disease in type 4 hypersensitivity reaction. What happens during this? In graft versus host disease, there is the opposite thing. What do I mean? In acute, hyperacute, and chronic rejection, we saw that recipients' immune system attacks the donor's tissue. Okay. In graft versus host disease, the donor's cells attack the recipient's organs. How does it happen? Graft versus host disease develops if you are transplanting the immunocompetent tissue. What does it mean? The tissue which can produce the immune cells. For type of tissue, bone marrow and also the liver. Bone marrow and liver is immunocompetent tissue. When you are transplanting the bone marrow, the lymphocytes from this bone marrow can start to attack the recipient's tissues. Sometimes it is beneficial when, during the leukemias, when you are transplanting the bone marrow, the lymphocytes from this bone marrow can attack the cancer cells. So it can be beneficial, but sometimes it's not beneficial and it gives you the graft versus host disease. The graft versus host disease has classic triad. What is this triad? We have hepatosplenomegaly, we have fever and rash, and we have jaundice. What is jaundice? Jaundice is when the bilirubin, which is the degradative product of like hemoglobin, is accumulated, and your body cannot eliminate it. So it accumulates and causes the yellowing of your skin and sclera, which is called the jaundice. Okay, so graft versus host disease develops if you are transplanting the immunocompetent tissue like the bone marrow and the liver.
Now, the immunosuppressants you mentioned that are given to patients who are undergone transplantation, are those immunosuppressants continue throughout lifetime or just for that certain time?
Not for lifetime, for certain time. Okay, because if you continue this immunosuppressants for whole life, there is the risk that some kind of tumors will appear or you will have severe infections. Yes, so it's not, you cannot give the immunosuppressant drugs like all the time. It means that you have to put the patient in the box and protect him from everything. Okay, in your rejections, you also have ABO incompatibility. I think you already know the ABO incompatibility, so I will not like explain it again.
Which graft is like more susceptible to rejection? Or specific?
I don't know. Like the liver is well accepted, kidney is also well accepted, heart is also good. Maybe the lung. Do we have here the cellular and molecular? Like I'm downloading in every computer and then they are switching the rooms. I can no, there is no.
Do we have to learn the immunosuppressant drugs from
No, no, because it's the pharmacology stuff and you will study it next year, as I remember. Next semester you're studying autoimmune drugs. Yeah. Okay, and tomorrow I will start the immunodeficiencies. So, okay, 1 second. In chronic rejection, the tissue which is transplanted starts to function, yes? Like it starts to adapt your body. And after some times, it starts to produce its own proteins because it has its own DNA. This DNA is transcribed and messenger RNA and then proteins, yes? And the proteins are like secreted in the circulation. Your immune system can recognize these proteins as foreign and they may start to attack them, okay? Then because of that, some proteins are like upregulated and sit on the donor's tissue. And they like start to attack these antigens, and because of that, they cause the inflammation, and because of that inflammation, they cause the hypertrophy and proliferation of B cells, which causes the narrowing, and as a result of this, the blood supply is diminished to the donor's tissue, which causes necrosis and like loss of function of this tissue. Okay, that's the chronic rejection.
Want to explain the tumor? So this can be explained.
Max can help you. I only need the CTLA-4 and PD-1 functions from the tumor.
Only that was that it suppresses the T cell activation. That was Kaplan's written in T cell activation. Only that question will be asked if it is asked in the quiz.
Yes.
I think it's new antigens and
No, new antigens.
Is there any difference in inhibition of CTLA-4 and PD-1? They are same. CTLA-4 and PD-1 are same, or they are different?
Function is same, but that they are different like receptors. Mechanism is the same.
Both bind to the B7.
You have to know which CD is CTLA-4. I forgot. It is CD 180. No.
Kaplan is B7.
CTLA-4 is CD.
B7 one is CD.
B7 one is CD80. B7 2 is CD86.
Yes, but CTLA-4 is CD 152. 152. Because I remember there was some question about it. 152. Kaplan has the table for CDs and interleukins. You have to know that.
Cytokines and CD markers.
Yes.
Why isn't there like one definite resource for immunology or so many resources?
I don't know, like.
Is it just our university or all universities do this?
All universities do this. Your university at least indicates the chapter. In another universities, it's just books, and you have to find out the topic in the books. So, for biochemistry, it is like Kevlin definitely. For pathology, it is Robbins.
So for pathology, we don't study from first year and so we focus on the discipline, you know.
You can use Golian. Yeah.
For reference.
Yes. Golian pattern also you can use. Golian is not a short, but it is like it summarizes the everything. It gives you the symptoms, the signs. You separate. You are not the PBL groups, yes?
Semester 3 or
3.
No. From third semester, you're starting the PBL cases, but like you are the PBL batch. You are?
No.
No.
We don't have PBL right now.
Yes, the PBL batch is different. It's separate. Your? You don't need it?
I need it, right?
You can start reading your transplantation immunology. Online students can go.
Wow.